He's got some editing to do. We don't
Yeah.
want him to be too bored with life.
This is true.
Well,
Hey John, this is kind of like from Days of Thunder and Mason's like one episode or a week where it
Yep.
kind of slows down and Harry Hogg goes over and kicks the side of the car and you'd be like me and you are like Harry. Get spoiled there, Mason.
Becca, thank you for making my life a whole lot easier on this podcast compared to John and Jessup.
You're welcome, Mason.
I don't understand what you mean by
Speeding up, no slowing down.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Track Packers podcast for episode 10 of season 4. Just about on a Memorial Day weekend, which is one of the biggest weekends of the year. We're going to break as much down as we can with myself, Mason, Miss Becca Pelkey, John Brecko, and Jessup Pelkey. Another full field ready to go for this week. Becca, how have you been doing?
Good. It's been a little wet and soggy here in the Bismarck-Mandan area, but I think it's been that way for most of the region. Much needed rain, but it's not good for racing season. So last weekend, many tracks canceled, and if it doesn't stop raining and it doesn't warm up, there could be a potential that some tracks might have to cancel again. So we'll have to wait and see.
My mom, I talked on the phone with my mom earlier this afternoon, and she's like, "We might get snow up here in Minot." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, another interesting week ahead. John,
Yes.
how are you doing? You are in parts unknown at the moment.
Yes, I am in hiding. I had to go in hiding. So no, I'm traveling for work this week. I'm actually down in Kansas City right now, um, underneath a severe thunderstorm warning as we speak. We've had a lot of very severe weather right around this area. I flew in here just this past morning, and it's definitely interesting because weather down here has been hot, sticky, and humid, and they've been hit with a couple rounds of severe weather. That's been a lot of rain. So very much kind of in the same boat that the rain has not left the area from what I left when I was in Bismarck this past weekend to now coming down here to the Kansas and Missouri line. So yeah, but no, so far staying safe, so that's good. And like Becca, I'm hoping the weather takes a turn towards the middle of the week and we can hopefully get some drying weather to allow some racing action to come back out again for Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, so if we have a corner of our screen go black, you understand why
This
John
is true.
is taking cover.
Yes.
Well, Jessup, how have you been doing with this quiet weekend we just had?
I'm doing all right. All things considered, 275 down to oh, there it goes. It lagged right there. It goes from my internet speed 275 download down to about 75 download. And this one, we have multiple people on at the time, and it always hits my laptop. So I don't expect to be really present that much.
Yeah.
That was
Let's just say
awesome.
Jessup's doing good.
It was funny because I try to test our speeds or my laptop speed or we podcast and I had to restart because the first one was like 20, which is terrible. And then one before after restarting was at like 290. So I'm like, oh, good. It needs to be back up again. And I just tested for kicks and gigs lagging and I was back down to like 120. And I'm like, I should just go cut Becca's internet.
This would be a great opportunity if there are any internet service providers out there that would love to support the Track Packers podcast. We are open for sponsorship, especially for the Pelkey Palace.
Yes, yes, they need some help.
We
Mason
are
better
back.
talk fast because I'm going to be dropping back down to 70.
Yeah. Well, I managed to did sneak away for a race this weekend, one of the very few taking place in our region. So that's one of the few things that we get to cover from this past weekend. But as always, thank you to the listeners and everyone watching out there for supporting us on the Track Packers podcast. We'd love to hear where you're watching from, so be sure to give us a like or a comment. And also thank you to our presenting sponsor, Hitch Harness, Tyler Hall out of Fertile, Minnesota. Unfortunately, he did not get any racing in this weekend. Probably like 85 to 90% of the other people in the region not able to race. And so Hitch Harness is a great supporter of us on the Track Packers podcast. John, talk to us about Hitch Harness and what kind of services that they provide.
Yeah, so race fans, drivers, crew members, supporters, sponsors, anyone, if you are in the need for any type of truck accessories, products, and the most important one, something to cover up that hitch, be sure to check out Hitch Harness. Again, we don't want the hitch to be rolling around in the back of the cab, flying out, knocking a Jessup in the head. That would definitely not be a good thing. I mean, he's already got a big knob up there anyhow, so we don't need it to get bigger. And to go forward, if you want to protect your loved ones as well as your family, be sure to check out hitchharness.com for everything out there for truck accessories.
Indeed. Thank you, John. And thank you, Tyler, for supporting us on the podcast for multiple seasons. We greatly appreciate your support and hopefully you get some racing in the near future. So as you can see, the lineup is vastly different from last week because we had a bevy of cautions. It was a caution-plagued episode. But Becca came out on top from the last episode. She's on the pole, followed by John Breckel in second, Jessup in third, myself in fourth. Now, Jessup, you had a caution after the third yellow, which is why you're behind John, if you're wondering, because we went under black-yellow conditions.
I'm going to use the same complaint that all the it's not my fault that all the hacks on the cause all the other cautions, and then I get taken out, or I try to some swerving person in front of me, and then I have. It's not fair, Mason.
Kind of the name of the game in racing sometimes. The cards just don't fall our way a lot of the times, but you'll get up to the front in no time, I'm sure.
And what?
You got a fast hot rod. I mean, sometimes it sputters like tonight, but
I'm ready.
I'm sure you're ready. But that is the wrong flag for this instance. We're going to officially start episode 10 with the waving of the green flag and get right into who or what are we repping. So, Miss Becca, kick us off with who or what are you repping?
I just want to mention that it's officially the start of the podcast, so now Jessup can throw a yellow flag because he's been asking the last 2 weeks. So I thought I would just clear that up.
Yes, good job, Becca.
Thank you. Well, this Friday, Dakota Speedway is hoping to race, and on the lineup, yes, Jessup.
There will be no racing this week.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Anyways, so on the docket for this week is the 5 regular car classes at Dakota Speedway, plus the Western Renegade Non-Wing Sprint Car Series is coming. So we'll be running 6 car classes at Dakota Speedway. And so getting excited for sprint car racing, I am wearing, so I actually made this shirt my first year I was involved with Dakota Speedway because back in 2008, the World of Outlaws came to Mandan. And back then, to garner extra interest and excitement that the World of Outlaws were in town, they closed down the main street in Mandan and brought all the sprint cars down so the fans could and the community could come and look at the sprint cars up close and in person. And so I went around and I had my brother help me make this shirt. So it's got the World of Outlaws logo from back in 2008. And then I had the drivers go around and sign it. So I've never actually worn this. It's been hanging in my closet. Oh, shoot. Hang on. She might go back down. Anyways, this has been hanging in my closet, and when we moved to this house in Lincoln, it had been sitting in a tote in the garage. And so my mother-in-law uh, is very great about helping us go through our things and downsize or save things or throw things. So came across this, and I was like, I can't throw this. And so it's been sitting in our bedroom for the last couple of weeks, and I figured why not wear this because sprint cars are coming to Mandan, and it's pretty cool. So got all sorts of autographs all over this thing. So
I have a couple of shirts that have a lot of autographs on them too that are kind of just sitting, and I haven't touched them in a couple years. So I'd be interested to kind of see what autographs are on there. So
Jessup, would
Did,
you like to take care of Miss Riley?
did you guys know too that if you go check out Becca's Facebook page, she has pictures from back then during that meet and greet. She even has the drivers' names tagged to photos, whether they are right or not, but they're still tagged to photos.
I didn't know them that well back then, John. So there probably are a few incorrect ones. I wouldn't surprise me. But I have a sad little Miss Riley, and even though Jessup is closest, I think I will have to go tend to Miss Riley. So
Or anything. I'm literally right outside the door. She's fine. Oh, no. I
Not
can hear
fine.
her. She's not fine.
So while they go tend to Riley, John, who or what are you repping for this episode?
Well, so I have decided to rep the DRC Street Stock Tour, which is starting this upcoming weekend at the Vikings Speedway in Alexandria. So Street Stock Tour is starting up for the first time in 2025, and I was like, this shirt was really nice. I got it from Mason. So Mason provided this over last year, and decided, you know what? I have not wore it yet. I threw it in the suitcase, and I forgot I threw it in the suitcase, and I opened up the suitcase, and I'm like, perfect shirt for the podcast.
Excellent. Excellent timing on that. Yes, that is a very exciting part of this Memorial Day weekend, and I will just kind of continue it on because I'm repping Street Stock Tour stuff with the hat and then one of the shirts. And this is one of the shirts we kind of throw to a few fans during the intermission activities. And so, yep, gearing up for the Street Stock Tour, sixth year of the Dirt Race Central Street Stock Tour. Really excited. I've been hearing some different names that are going to be kind of making their way over to Alexandria this weekend. So we're going to have a very interesting field of drivers here for the start of the tour and then potentially longer down the road in the tour. So hopefully they kind of have some good luck and some good fortune so that they're able to continue on through the rest of the tour. And we'll see who's going to be at the top of the standings once it gets to championship weekend over in North Dakota at the Jamestown Speedway. So that leaves Jessup, who's returned. What are you repping?
Anyways, I'm wearing a Jay Kintner old super.
That's actually a pretty cool looking scheme. Is that are those flames with the orange or?
I don't know. I think it's just detailing.
Jay was always tough in the super stocks. Always enjoyed watching him in the super stock division.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think he jumped up. One of the Kintners jumped up to a late model.
It was Jay.
I think
Jay
it's
went up to late models. Yep.
They used to have I can't remember exactly what. They had an old semi hauler. It was either green or I think it was green. It's been a long. Good times.
well, just like a lot of the racers out there this past weekend, but poor Iron Range folks, they haven't gotten a single race in up in their neck of the woods. So
Yeah, but
I'm sure a lot of them are itching to go sling some dirt.
Mm-hmm.
that's normal. It's not like the stupidity of the race when there's snow flying.
Well, yes. I mean, there's been a couple races that have been scheduled though, but they haven't been able to get those in, unfortunately, yet.
Yes, but I'll go back. History proves that they more traditionally in the middle of May, not early May, because we usually have snow and frost.
Mhm.
So it's a logical reasoning for the later. Whereas our current reasoning of starting early, I understand. I think it's gotten a little out of control.
Especially with you guys by the lakes up there too. There's definitely a lot more cold weather, frost.
Yeah, I mean, I know with Hibbing, they're still doing a lot of work to revamp. They, I think it was a week ago, they had really good weather and the track.
Mhm.
So it's not like losing like a whole month's worth of racing. It's just 1 or 2 weeks behind.
Mhm.
And there have been times where all the way to the end of June before they've raced.
Yikes. I would not do well sitting in the iron range.
Why? You
You travel.
literally,
You would
but
travel
here's the
anyhow,
thing.
Mason.
You see,
Yes.
really, you would find in the iron range. I mean, if you were to position yourself, say, around Duluth, have, oh, let's count the tracks. You've got it. 6 or 7 tracks within 2 hours.
Yep.
You can put it to 2.5 hour drive. You're pretty much pushing at 12 tracks.
Yes. Yeah. It would just
Whereas
be.
your current, how many hours every week? How far did you go this past weekend?
I just casinos just at 2 hours.
See? And just think if you were see Proctor and Superior both within a half hour of each other, depending
Right.
on really you could see 2 tracks within 15 minutes.
Right. I'm just kind of referring to like the whole like I'm ready to go like once the beginning of May hits, and I'm like, I got to get my racing fix in, especially this month because it's like my favorite month of the year to be honest. Just very first races of the year and everything, and plus I don't do the cold well, and it gets chilly up in the Iron Range, and so I wouldn't do so well with that.
And he calls himself a North Dakotan.
Barely.
Barely.
Hey,
I wouldn't even.
I
It's
could
like
be a
he's
North
from
Dakota and still not
Minot.
like the cold, John.
I can't handle the cold, but yet you call yourself a North Dakotan. Wow.
Well,
Mm-mm.
I do live in North Dakota, so there's that aspect of it.
Yes.
I don't understand what he's saying. He's
I
not a
don't
fan
either.
of cold, and he's
It's a bunch of gibberish.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's a lot of gibberish that takes place on the show. But that'll do it for Who or What Are We Repping? And we move on to the Hot Sauce Hot Memory Rewind and give a shout out to Isaac Hot Sauce Sondrol in the 12S IMCA Modified, who also did not get any racing in this weekend, unfortunately. But he's a farmer, so he greatly appreciated the moisture. And now, hopefully, it's not too much that it makes things super messy and kind of delays things a little bit. But when you do see Isaac, be sure to stop down in the pits to the 12S trailer. They have some great snacks and great food to partake in, and he's one of the nicest guys to talk to, and we want to thank him for supporting us for another season on the Track Packers podcast as well. Jessup, what do you have for the Hot Sauce Hot Memory Rewind this week?
Well, we're gonna throw it back to more traditional uh recall items this week. So, John, you know the rules. No cheating with the Western Wanderer. And you got to name the driver and the class and the year. So we're going to start it with this guy right here.
That is Don Eichens
Oh,
in the Wasota Superstocks.
yep.
And that would be year wise. Let's see here really quick. I'm going to say 2003.
Oh, right on the money. All three. Very
Good
good.
job.
Let's go to the second one.
We don't see anything yet.
That's the pits in Jamestown, isn't it?
I still don't
It
see.
looks like the back pits by the
You can't see
hill.
it, John?
Oh, that's Derek Vessel.
Wrong. But you're close.
What do you mean wrong?
That's not Derek Vessel.
That is to Derek Vessel.
That is not Derek Vessel.
That's not Steve Vessel because Steve had his
There it is. He
No, 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 no,
corrects
no.
himself.
Steve had his late model there that year. That's in Jamestown pits, and that's Derek in that car for the Stock Car Stampede back in
That
2003.
was Steve.
Steve was in a, I believe it was either a orange or a blue late model.
I can look up
Maybe,
the
but-
Western Wanderer.
You do it, Mason, and you tell me that I'm right.
This may be true, but the person in the Steve, that is not Derek.
That is definitely not Steve.
That is
That
not
is-
Derek.
That is definitely Derek's car that he was probably scaling in the pits.
Steve in the car. Going on to our
Okay,
next.
so let me share my screen here real quick. So I think I found one of them. All right, so this one.
Look at that.
Yeah, look at that.
Steve
It's a late
Vessel.
model.
And then super stocks. All right.
You got to go a couple more pages, Mason.
Oh,
Oh,
my
that's where the
God,
page
you
thing is.
guys.
I'm like, where is the page thing? No. Oh, I need to go supers.
You got to keep going.
No, not down. Over.
Look at that.
What am I looking at?
The
see
same car
something.
you just showed.
Yes, but it was Steve.
Let's mark it down. I was right.
So that means there's a
It
caution
would
on
be
whoever wrote the
Derek's
name on the thing.
in the car. Derek is not in the car.
That's just too bad. It was still Derek that raced the car.
That's not the question. Who's in the car?
That's just still way too bad.
Moving on, John.
I get bonus points. I even announced what racetrack it was at.
Is that a 20?
Is that a 20 or 29?
That's a 20. They currently still think.
It still race?
Well, the family still races. Even.
I really don't like that these are super stocks because I am not great with super stocks.
I'm trying to think here really quick. The 20 Superstock, who would have that been?
Do you have a hint of like the region or area they're from?
South Dakota or Minnesota.
Here, turn that back around.
I saw the name
Yeah.
on the back, so now I know.
I did too.
Yeah,
So go ahead, Mason.
It's Jeremy North.
there we go.
And he's from Huron, South Dakota, Jessup.
I'm not. I don't think I've seen much for races in South Dakota. I think I've only
Have you seen anything in South Dakota, really? Like in person?
Huset's.
Okay, that might be the only one then, right?
That's it.
Yeah. Because Jeremy used to race Dakota State for Speedway and what was the other track that Brown County? Don Drew?
I don't know. Village
Or
Lanes.
is that
Okay.
Belfi? Or is that Mike Belfi?
Oh, that's a good guess.
This here, John.
I can't see it, Jess. We have to talk again. Only one person shows up on my screen.
You said it wasn't Mike Belfi?
No, I'm just wondering who John's going with.
Oh,
He said about
gotcha.
4 names.
I'll go with Mike Belfi.
That it would be correct. Good job, John.
That paint scheme is
Maybe
very
there.
reminiscent of Don Drew's paint scheme.
Mm-hmm. Jason was present, Becca was not present, and John was spot on.
Yes, indeed he was.
I'm
Do you have
sorry,
any
Mason.
more? Do you have any more? I have one.
I'm done.
Okay.
One more. This one might be a little more tougher for John.
Okay.
You got to talk, Jessup, so I can see it.
Here you go, John.
I still don't see it, Jessup. You got to talk again.
Do you hear me now, John?
Oh,
Do you
that's
see
better.
the photo?
Is that Joey Jensen?
Close.
Because Joey Jensen's mod's in the background.
You are close.
Who's the other? Because there used to be two of them that raced.
Yep, and today with the same number
He still races today with the same number?
Yeah.
Brandon Jensen?
would be correct.
Really? Now, did you guys know that year, Joey came to Jamestown with the 21 modified?
That's a bit of a
So
haul.
it wasn't at the Stampede. It was just a regular, I think, show for the mods, and he pulled over.
I remember Joey more so for the V2 modified.
That's
Yep.
what I was, yeah.
Yep, but I remember Joey in that yellow 21 modified.
And that is today.
He was pretty new. He was pretty new in the division at that time because I believe he was that was back, I think, because that would have been what, Jessup, 2003.
Yep, everything's 2003.
That was the first year that Wasoda allowed spoilers on the mods, on the Wasoda mods.
Ooh.
Before that, they didn't have a spoiler on them.
This
That is
is
Pat
my
Wise, Graham.
one. Well, John already got it.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
And Mason's like, that's going to be so difficult.
I never said it was going to be difficult.
What year is it? Oh,
2000 and trying to think here really quick. That would have been Mason. Is that like 16?
No, I think it's 2010. I'd have to double check. I just took it
Okay.
off of his Facebook, so I can check here real quick.
Okay, because I know he's I've actually seen that car race. Just trying to think of what year he would have had that car, because I think I saw it at the Stampede. It was either Stampede or it was at Brown County.
This is an April 13th, 2010 photo.
Okay, so it would be 2010 then.
There we go.
That was the year the Stampede got rained out after the first round of heats on Friday. So remember how they rotate classes? They got rained out after the first round, and then had to run the heats on Saturday afternoon before they did consies and features. So late models really never got to see the track until Saturday.
Oh, wow. Well, there you have it. That's the Hot Sauce Hot Memory Rewind. And Becca, you missed John offering a correction to one of the photos.
Yes, and I was crushing it without even having any help this week.
John couldn't cheat.
Well, one he couldn't cheat, but we verified with the Western Wanderer.
We did. Mason did a double check, and we proved Jessup wrong.
Well, to
it
be
wasn't
fair,
It wasn't so much Jessup wrong. It was whoever wrote the name on the back of the picture wrong.
there you go. I was gonna say Jessup was gifted these. He didn't actually write the names, so it's okay, Jessup.
not my fault. Just take what I get and present it.
And then
We
you
appreciate
argue.
it.
And then you should know better than to argue.
Well, anyways, on to the Track Packer report. I got to a racetrack this weekend. Did anyone partake in any racing or watch anything of interest?
Yes, I watched some of Indy, and I watched some of the All-Star race.
Same.
Yep.
I completely missed the All-Star race besides seeing who won. Anything of interest in that?
Honestly, the one thing I will say is that I was kind of impressed with the track. They could run all over the track this weekend. It was kind of nice to see.
A NASCAR race where they didn't have to use some sort of compound or form.
That's exactly what my thought process was too. And it was actually pretty good to watch when they had restarts, and then the tire situation was very interesting.
What'd you guys think of the gimmicky promoter's caution?
I laughed. I honestly laughed. I thought it was funny because it was very gimmicky, right? But it was also funny to watch Michael Waltrip up there trying to get the crowd into it, and nobody was really getting into it. That was the funny part.
And I thought it was pretty good.
Well, and didn't he drop the caution flag too?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the cars drove right by with the green flag.
One of them ran over it.
Yes.
It's like, that's what we think of this gimmicky yellow.
You see, I'm like, I think a handful of different sets of fans for NASCAR and all the sports. But like people were complaining about why are you mad? And then they were like, well, the promoter's caution was bad. And I'm like, that's no different than stages.
Exactly. That was my thought process too. I was like, it's no different than a stage. The only difference was that you didn't know when the caution was going to happen, and it could be like a debris caution.
And they're like the online people were all like, call me a but I thought if you get to the highest level of the All-Star event and complaining about it, and I'm like, well, Jeff, if you take the fun out of this and be a true hater on you, don't take every person racing or competing and put them in the. There's usually just a small percentage of people there, so if you should have only had like 12 cars racing, and the rest wouldn't track. Good luck selling that, Jeff.
I thought it was interesting though too because, you know, with the promoter's caution, it was truly like a debris caution. There was debris on the track.
Yeah, but that happened. People were complaining about the fireworks. So it's like it's too gimmicky. I'm like, well, isn't all this? Look at
Isn't
half of the trophies.
the
Maybe
fireworks
get a lobster. It
the fireworks is
and some
part of the All-Star
guns.
race. It's been that way for years.
Yeah.
I don't mind the fireworks. I don't mind the pit crew introductions. What grinds my gears about the All-Star race is it seems like every year it's different. There's no consistency from year to year on who wins that race. And I mean it like the format of the race, not
Yeah, but
the
that's
outcome.
NASCAR as a whole, so they're staying on par.
Yes.
Every year.
I guess so.
It's because
But
the baboons, they're baboons. They're just running around with baboons.
But my mom called me and she's like, I don't get this all-star race. I'm like, of course you don't, because every year it changes. And what it used to be when we first started watching NASCAR, this version of it is completely different from back then. And I tried to
How
explain to
was it
her
back then? Tell me.
back then it was just winners from the past year and
Past winners, past champions.
past
Yep.
champions
Yeah.
of the
Okay, so
all-star race.
that goes back to my statement of not everybody should be in
I agree. But then the format was back then they would invert it. So um, okay, so first they would there were like three stages of the All-Star race, and after each
Mhm.
stage they would eliminate drivers and the back markers, and
Mhm.
then they would do that throughout the race, and then at the final caution they would invert it. And I always thought that was I thought it was a great concept. I wish they kind of would have just stuck with it, but of course NASCAR does all of their trial and error during the All-Star race, and if things work out, then they implement it into NASCAR. This has never been the same since like 2006. Every year it's different, and it drives me insane. It's hard to follow year after year. And I watch NASCAR. You know, I can't imagine what it's like for the fan that's just like, oh, I'm going to tune in because I have nothing else to do. And it's like, what? Last time I saw this race, they did that. You know, that's my grinds my gears with this All-Star race.
Can't say it any better. And I didn't even get to watch it. Well,
Now
there
I
you
think
go.
it's kind of interesting because the Indy qualifying session was very interesting too. So watch that a little bit.
papers.
So it's going to be I think it's going to be a very interesting race on Sunday in Indy. And then I think it'll be interesting too because there's been some discussions on if North Wilkesboro should actually get a points race and they should move the All-Star race. I'd be curious to see what NASCAR is going to do in 2026 and 2027 potentially with that concept.
Yeah, because it's like, well, this is what the second or third year that the All-Star race has been at North
This is the
Wilkesboro?
third year.
Third year? And like this was definitely, well, from what I heard, the best All-Star race at North Wilkesboro since they've gone there. So trending in the
Yep.
right direction, which is a good sign.
Best racing wise. Yep.
So Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I know they've already made a change with the championship race starting next year, going back to Homestead Miami, which I think is a good move. And so maybe that might be kind of a similar type thing with North Wilkesboro getting a points paying race. So
Hmm?
see how that goes down the road. While the All-Star race is taking place, I got to take in one of the few races around our region this weekend down at the Casino Speedway. They got their season opener kicked off. The weather was rather chilly. Temperature-wise wasn't bad, but we had a straight 20 to 30 mile an hour wind coming out of the east, so that was heading right into the grandstands. So I tried to roll around for the first part of the night in the infield and in the pits just to keep warm, and then once I headed over the stands for the features, I froze. But they had I would say for the
Nice
weather
and cold.
What a concept.
I
I'm saying we need to
He's
be
a
racing.
he's a
We
fair
need
weather
to be
race fan.
racing. These races are the ones that are here.
Yep.
And Becca and I both said it's going to be freezing and the grandstands, and the wind's going to hit you. And Mason was all like, "I will be fine."
It also did not help that I had my heated vest, but the battery was dead.
If only you were prepared more.
You
I
had
sort of was
all
charged,
week.
I
but
mean, he saw so much racing before Sunday.
You mean you had all week plus Friday and Saturday to prepare for this, Mason?
I still enjoyed my time at the track. And so did quite a few other people because they had a pretty solid crowd for the way the weather was. I would say the crowd was pretty good for the weather. So let's see here. Now that my phone went to sleep, there we go. So in total, they had 71 cars in their 6 classes, including 14 street stocks, 11 Gen X late models, 11 Midwest mods, 11 mods, 13 so late models, and 11 Hornets. So double digits in all the classes. And there's some new drivers, specifically in the Hornets and Midwest mods, some of them returning from a few years past. So it was kind of cool to see some new faces out on the track. And racing action was pretty good as well. And so it kicked off with the street stocks. Turned into a battlefront between Maria Brixick and Trey Hess. Usually, when Maria starts on the pole, she's very, very tough to beat, but Trey was very persistent. I believe Maria got tight with just a couple laps to go, exiting 4, and that allowed Trey to get underneath her, and he took the win on a busy weekend for him. So, congratulations to Trey Hess in picking up the win in the Minnesota Street Stocks. In the Midwest Modifieds, Terry Riley, who started up front, held off a lot of challenges from Todd Stark and Tommy Nichols, and he got a big win. I also forgot to mention, too, with Casino Speedway, they lost a member of their racing family, Danny Hall, number 54. I believe recently drove the Midwest Modified. John, did he drive in any other classes as well?
I don't remember offhand. I know he drove for many, many years before he kind of took a step back and then had been battling cancer.
Yeah, because he was actually, from what I saw from Cody Packery's post, he was actually driving a car at Test and Tune just a couple weeks back. So kind of a very kind of quick turnaround with that whole situation. So thoughts and prayers out to Danny Hall and his family and all the loved ones there. But Terry Riley had a really emotional victory lane because Danny Hall was always known for driving a Ford engine, and Terry Riley has a Ford engine. So it was kind of fitting the way that worked out. So that was the Midwest Modifieds. Gen X late models had a lot of action. I think there was like 3 or 4 lead changes, slide jobs, contact. It was entertaining. Kurt Kranz, the Croningers, there were just a few in the mix, but Bodie Croninger in the 811 got the feature win to kick off opening night at Casino. TPO got doubled up in both the Wissota modifieds. He was checked out by half a track in that race. And late models, he had to work really hard to get around the one of Ryan Engels, who looked really good in that red late model. He was putting on some pretty good laps, but it took Tyler about a good 10, 12 laps for him to finally get around him, and then he pulled away from there. And then the Hornets had a couple of travelers from Minnesota, including Jeff Roner and Bobby Arnis, and those two duked it out until, unfortunately, Bobby had a flat right front tire, so that took him out of contention and handed the win to Jeff Roner, the 08. So nice solid night down in Watertown. Got back just a little before 11:30. So with the early start that they had, they started at 5 o'clock instead of 6:30. Nice to get home at a decent time on a Sunday night. So that was season opening night at Casino Speedway, and that's basically the Track Packer report for this weekend. So with that, we'll move on to what's upcoming next, which could be a very, very busy weekend of racing, but we'll see. Mr. Dakota Dirt, what's on tap in the state of North Dakota?
Did you guys know you can check out Dakota Dirt? It is your one-stop shop for everything North Dakota racing news, results, schedules, forecast, and much more. Check them out on their website at dakotadirt.org and their social media platforms. They may even have some articles potentially in the future.
That's
They
funny.
may be utilizing the forecast section quite a bit this next week.
Well, I'll tell you this. There's been a so it's going to
There's
be
been a
interesting to see if anyone
there's been a
gets
what?
to race this weekend.
Yeah,
But
you cut out there when you said there's a something.
There's a what?
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, we don't either because you cut out.
We don't either. There's been a blank. That's all that Jessup said. Mason,
We can go through this together. Let me help you out there, buddy.
you just better share Dakota Dirt's website. I mean,
No,
this way
you're in.
everybody can see their
This is
social.
my part.
Fine, you just tell me when you need assistance.
I'll cut out and then you can start talking. Anyway, oh yeah, trying to make light of what this week's going to be. There will be no racing on Thursday. About 6 inches of rain says no racing. But if racing, it looks like McLean County's going to try to get their opening night in. Racing stock cars, sport mods, hobby stocks, sport compacts, and renegade wingless sprints, and the legends. Cool. I think they'll be pushing super hard to get them there, but then how much rain they've gotten over the last week and a half, and it's going to be, I think it might get to the low 60s as a high.
Mm-hmm. It's supposed to get to like the low to mid 60s. Yep.
Maybe. And then this has got to be an issue. I don't know why I have this on Thursday. River Cities.
Yes.
That's got to.
Nope,
Is
that's
that
right.
really a Thursday
Yep.
thing?
That is right.
Yep.
Swore that was wrong, but anyways, River Cities Thursday. Here we go. Wayne 410 sprints, Wissota street stocks, Wissota mid mods, Wissota late, and Wissota modifieds. So a good night of racing on Thursday. Again, if weather permits. Going on to the 23rd, their first responder military appreciation night with fireworks. All will be in action, it looks like. IMCA mods, stock cars, 3 mods, hobby stocks, and the legends. And at Dakota Speedway that night, it'll be military mod, stock cars, legends, hobby stocks, slingshots, and the Western Renegade sprints. So that will be Saturday. Going on to Saturday, looks like Thunder Mountain's looking to IMC Sport Mods, Hobby Stocks, IMC Sport Compacts, their Enduro, and Slingshots. That'll be a good night for them. Jamestown's looking to kick things. I think of all the tracks that we're going to mention here, this one's probably realistic to get a race in this weekend, mainly because I don't think they an inch or two total.
Yeah, they didn't have a whole lot of rain last week. They only got about I think a little bit over a quarter of an inch to about a half inch last week in total. And I know they're getting rain this week. Like they're supposed to get a couple inches this week, but honestly, I don't think that's going to affect a whole lot of things.
Season opener, Armed Forces Night. They will have all their normal classes. The Wissota Midwest mods, Wissota Street Stocks, IMCA Modifieds, NX Legends, Hobby, or Bombers in their case, and Slingshots. So finally, the last track, which I highly doubt after some of the photos we've seen, is going to be the Southwest Speedway, looking to kick their season off with Renegade wingless sprints. The IMCA mods, IMCA stock cars, sport mods, IMCA hobbies, and the Slingshots and the NX. Like I said, they got some serious work if they're it looked like the whole kart track was underwater.
Yeah. I think with them, I think what Dickinson got over 4 inches this past week, and then it rained yesterday there. It
Yeah.
rained again today there because we're taping this on a Monday night. It rained quite a bit there on Monday again. And honestly, though, the best case for them would be to get some sun to get it to dry up just a little bit. I mean, even the car track stays underwater. I mean, it's just the infield area, right? They can always deal with that.
Going and looking at Sunday, the 25th, it is Nodak Speedway with their Memorial Day doubleheader night one. Looks like the IMCA mods, the stock cars, the sport mods, the hobby stocks, and the I compacts will be in action that night. In their broadcast last. Oh no, wait, that was for this past.
It was the
week
week before. Yeah.
And then going on to Memorial Day itself, plenty of stuff to watch night. It's going to be the Memorial Day doubleheader night number 2 at Speedway. IMCA mods, stock cars, sport mods, hobby stocks, and compacts there. And I believe Cheyenne Speedway will be in race as well for their very popular with the Wissota Streets, the Wissota Midwest mods, the Gen X Light model, NX Legends, hobby stocks, and short trackers. And I know Mason his favorite class.
Let us continue. So, a lot of racing scheduled for this Memorial Day weekend in North Dakota. Same thing outside the state of North Dakota. We'll see what the weather kind of does throughout the beginning part of this week, especially. So Thursday, the 22nd, have a couple tracks trying to do take 2 for their season openers, including Grand Rapids Speedway and KRA Speedway. And I believe KRA Speedway has the Challenge Series there. So that's going to be a good start for them over in Wilmer. On Friday, the 23rd, Brown County Speedway is back in action. The first of 2 nights at the Dead Horse Creek Speedway. They do just a handful of races throughout the summer, and so they've been promoting the heck out of their races, and this is the first weekend for their set 2025 schedule. Fiesta City Speedway is also back in action. I-94 Speedway, their military night. Ogilvy Raceway has the Minnesota Mod National, so they have a 3-day set of races, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And Red Cedar Speedway also racing. So a lot of stuff on Friday. Saturday's no different. Cedar Lake Speedway running. The Dakota State Fair Speedway down in Huron has a couple of races throughout the year, and this is one of them. Greenbush Race Park scheduled to open up their season. North Central Speedway, one of the very few tracks that actually got the races in this last weekend. They're continuing on. Rice Lake Speedway rescheduled Kids Night on Saturday. And Viking Speedway has the first of 2 nights hosting the Dirt Race Central Street Stock Tour. So it's going to be a fun couple of nights over in Alexandria. Sunday the 25th, Bemidji Speedway, first of 2 nights for their Chicken Shack Nationals. They were able to have a test and tune this past weekend with several cars in attendance, so look to see quite a good car count there. Casino Speedway for their second night, and Redwood Speedway also racing on Sunday. And Monday, like I said, Bemidji Speedway, Madison Speedway is also running, and that is their season opening night as well. So this is a fun weekend. Hopefully the weather will let us go to some racing and attend as many races that we can, because depending on who you might be or where you might go, you could get up to 5 nights of racing. So definitely a good kickoff to hopefully some more summer weather and get more consistent time at the track this weekend. I mentioned the Street Stock Tour. Is there any predictions for this year's tour? Now, I kind of know an idea of people that are going to be following, but you never know how things pan out for the first few nights and kind of how, people kind of commit from there. So any predictions for the Street Stock Tour, since that's when the tour's taking place?
I do have a prediction for the weekend to start the tour. I have a feeling that you guys will be just fine on Saturday with starting the tour. Everything should be good. Hopefully, car count should be great, and everything should be good from a racing perspective on the Street Stock Tour. Because on Sunday, Kayla will be there for her first night, and it will rain.
Which is kind of interesting because the forecast is literally good on Saturday, and Sunday there's a chance of showers.
Yes. So, no, in all seriousness, my prediction for the Street Stock Tour, I think there'll be a lot of great racing action again on the tour this year across several different tracks. I am excited to see the first weekend to see who is going to follow the tour, whether it's going to be full time or whether it's going to be hit or miss shows here or there. But my bold prediction for Tour Champion in 2025 is Andrew Hansen.
That's my pick.
That is a solid pick.
John
Becky,
stole
you
my
can st-
pick.
you can still stay with that same prediction.
All right. Andrew Hansen's my pick as well.
Now, don't freak out too, because he's gonna miss the first night, I believe, of the doubleheader in Alexandria because his younger sister's graduation.
Mhm.
But he'll be
Yep.
there for the rest of the time.
Yep.
We'll get no points.
But remember, you can drop shows. It's fine.
Two drop shows.
He's not. He'll goes.
I didn't quite hear what you said there, Jessup.
He'll be down 2 shows.
He only
That's
has to be
one
down
show.
one.
He'll be
Yeah,
there
but it's
Sunday.
going to rain out, so he's not getting any points.
Well, that doesn't totally go against him though. If it rains out,
It's
everyone.
one less opportunity to get points, Mason. That's
This is
going
true.
against him.
Jessup's not wrong.
Well, that's a good point.
John, is that a caution?
So no, I don't think it's a caution. I wouldn't consider that to be caution.
Blue flag for Mason.
I don't know why you're worried about me. I'm behind you.
It's on the lap.
He's scared of the competition. He's looking out but in his rearview mirror when he should be looking out the windshield.
Well, it's okay. Becca and I are so far gone already. It's he's looking for you.
Especially with the way Jessup's been sputtering all episode. He's really behind.
He's really behind. I mean, his car is just like.
You see, Mason, I'm not looking here. I'm just following my stick person.
I think for my prediction, because Champions is going to be hard to predict, but there's 18 scheduled races. I'm going to say there's going to be at least 12 different winners.
Ooh, look at Mason making a bold prediction.
That's bold, all right. There's just going to take half of them with you and Kayla around, so that's only down to 9 left.
This is true.
Math ain't mathin'.
I mean, you think about it, right? I mean, let's use an example.
You're too optimistic on how many races you're going to get in, Mason.
I was going to say, let's go back and we'll look at Aberdeen during the Rumble in 2024.
Yeah.
Perfect, beautiful day outside. They're at the water park. They're doing go-karts. They're having a great time. And then, poof, there comes the rain clouds. Just right over the track, too. It's like they knew. They knew that Mason and Kayla were both there. So, yep. Monsoon, Mason, and Hurricane Kayla were in full force. And then they made their trek north to the Jamestown Speedway, about 100 miles north. Kayla flew to make it to the track on time. Mason, he was more driving like a grandpa, like normal, and got there about 30 minutes late. Yep, got there late. And then
that is accurate. He drives like your grandpa.
And then arrives at the track, and all of a sudden, oh, poof! Here comes these storm clouds then from the north, and they just start to build and move closer and closer and closer to the racetrack throughout the night, and they hit us right at the IMSA modified feature.
You got the race night in. I don't know what you're complaining about.
I don't know what you were complaining about that night either.
Oh, he was throwing a hissy fit that night.
He was, but that's because he was mad because of his driving.
I had plenty to complain about that night, but I was happy that we at least got some racing in that night.
Of all the flavors in the world, Mason chose to be salty.
Yeah,
part of his personality.
Mm-hmm.
Which night was he saltier? That night or the night the Street Stock Tour came to Jamestown?
Probably the Friday night of this tour in Jamestown. or let's back up. We have one more to add to this. We also have to add the let's see, John Seitz Memorial for the Street Stock Tour.
That's the winner. That's the winner right there. No further discussion is needed.
Okay. I was going to say, what about the YMCA at the Tri-County Speedway?
Yeah, that was good.
That didn't
You were
irritate me. I was
starting to
just
have a hissy fit.
Hey, you say it doesn't irritate you, but you told me that you were trying to find ways to block the YMCA.
Yes, and
Yeah.
trying to edit it out while he was doing his video reels at the end.
the problem is I was kind of like snickering at the same time. I was also trying not to laugh every time I panned between the two hooligans in the infield.
Mad, I just don't understand.
It was fun. It's fun to look back on that.
Mason, where were you at that night? Were you also in the infield?
Yeah.
For the Heat, so yeah.
Well, then there was 3 hooligans, not 2.
Whoa.
Don't sell yourself
Man.
short, Mason.
Yeah, you definitely are a hooligan.
See, just I would call a caution flag on that.
You know, John, we might just. So, I'm gonna leave it in. If you want to take it, John, you go ahead.
I mean, this would be a Cottingham Insurance caution. Did you know, race fans, that Cottingham Insurance has 2, count them, 2 locations in North Dakota?
Where are they, John?
One's in Bismarck, and the other one is in Underwood.
Thank you, John. We
Yes.
appreciate
Ah.
that.
If only they
Contributions to
sponsored our
Cottingham.
podcast.
What's a pod?
Becca,
You know,
I feel like you have the contact info for Cottingham Insurance. Could you please get in touch with them for us, please? Anywho, let's display the white flag before this show gets completely off the rails, even though it probably already has in some aspects, and give a shout out to the B1. Brody Carlsrud, IMCA stock car out of Glendon, Minnesota. Another driver that unfortunately did not get any racing action today due to Mother Nature, but I'm sure we'll see him in action quite a bit this weekend. If you do, or if you want to follow his racing, go follow the Brody Carlsrud B1 Racing page on Facebook and also his podcast, The Real Deal with B1. I know he's looking to get a couple episodes once the season kind of gets rolling a little bit more and gets a routine down, but go give him some support over there. And thank you, Brody, for supporting us on the podcast as well. I put in wins of the week in the agenda. Does anyone have any wins of the week? I have a few.
I do. I have a few.
Becca, since you're on the poll, I'll give you first dibs.
I feel like we better let Jessup go first, otherwise he's gonna make faces or make excuses or
I'll make faces
complain.
regardless. You're gonna
Doesn't
get
he
it.
always make faces?
I
Well,
don't complain.
he com
And and complaints? Oh, that's definitely a caution.
Complain.
anyways, we should let Jessup go first.
Go ahead,
You
Jess.
guys are being mean.
It's okay, Jessup.
All right, fine. I will go.
We have to let
Nice.
ladies go first. Go ahead.
Huh.
So
Anyways, before Becca gets all in mom mode on me, I'll pick my winners of the week. With Ty Wilkie picking up a Race Saver 305 sprint at Houston's this past weekend. Very strong field of compete against, and that's a tough track to tame. And yeah, it was a nice one for him. My second win of the week will go to Zach Ranke for picking up a Midwest mod feature win over at the Electric City Speed. I believe it was Saturday, over a nice victory there for him. Getting ready for one of their bigger B-mod specials out there. He just really wanted to race, one of the two. And my final win for this will go to a theme here. Since this is season, episode 10, making it a 4 episode, I'm going to give my final win of the week to Johnson for going back-to-back 4 feature wins down at Houston's.
So you were cutting it out just as
Oh,
you were
for
saying
sake.
Caleb
You were.
Johnson in the 6K.
Bleep me out.
Don't worry. I got it. Plenty of editing to do. That's going to be no problem at all.
I want you to make a note of this. I don't want to be. Why?
Might as well.
You were sideways, John.
You were sideways.
I'm just always like that.
Not wrong. Good wins, Jessup. Becca, go ahead. If you got,
All
you
right.
can list up to 3. You don't have to list 3, but you can list up to 3.
yeah. All right. My first will go to Trey Hess, picking up the victory down at Casino on Sunday. That was his third feature victory of the season. And he's just had a really strong start to his season thus far. And he's a current points leader in the Minnesota National Points. Second win of the week will go to Gage Mather. He picked up the victory over at Big Sky Speedway on Friday night. In fact, quite a few of the North Dakota boys made their trip out west and did very, very well out in Montana. So congratulations to Gage Medler. And then I'm going to be corny, but I think one of the biggest winners of this past weekend was Mother Nature because she did some damage and canceled a lot of races. So that is my three winners for the weekend, and hopefully Mother Nature doesn't have nearly as many victories this weekend.
There we go. Yeah, I figured Mother Nature was going to get a win at some point. Go ahead, John.
Okay, so my first win of the week has to go to the Dustin Peck 26 machine, who picked up a high limits win here this past week. So congratulations to Justin on having a nice win over there in the high limits series. My second win of the week is going to TPO for doubling up in Watertown. It's been a while since Taylor has visited Victory Lane in Watertown, so it's nice to see him double up in the mod and in the late model. And finally, my third win of the week is we actually did have one track in North Dakota that saw race cars on the track this past weekend. And it was Jamestown Speedway with Test and Tune. So they put on a lot of brand new clay in the off season and heard lots of great things about smooth track conditions and racy conditions on Sunday during Test and Tune. So good start to the season for them with their season opener upcoming this Saturday.
Yeah, great turnout. Great. Glad that they were able to make that adjustment from Saturday to Sunday and still get a really good turnout of cars. So good sign of things to come. I'll do three more quick ones. My first one, I'm going to give it to a Hornet driver down in Watertown, Nathan Smith. He actually did a lot of recruiting over the offseason to get a few more Hornets in that class because they were kind of struggling with car counts over the last couple of years, but it was good to see a nice, solid field of Hornet drivers there, and hopefully that continues to grow that class down in that area. Second win, I'm going to give it to Cole Gressef for getting the feature win at North Central Speedway. Caution-free race, and he won by nearly 7 seconds. So kicking butt in that 19 machine this year. He's got a few good wins to start the year. And my other win of the week is going to go to another Minnesota Street Stock driver, Dylan Hoppy in the 14D out of Montana. Had a great race with Trey Hess and Jeremy Castro, who I believe has got his own street stock again this year. And they put on a heck of a good race over at Big Sky on Saturday night. And that was fun to see Dylan get the win. That was his first night out. So 1-for-1 on the season to start off for the 14D machine. So those are my wins of the week. Any closing thoughts? Any paint schemes you want to give a shout out to before we wrap up the episode? Or what are people's plans or tentative plans? Are you going to hit multiple races this weekend, or are you kind of hit one or two and kind of stay low?
I
Well,
plan on hitting multiple and being pretty busy Memorial Day weekend before I travel for work again next week.
Please just travel somewhere where you're not dealing with severe weather.
I know. I'm just going to, our nation's capital.
don't bring the severe weather home with you, though.
They asked me to speak in front of all the politicians because I have such a nice announcing voice.
Hmm.
Things that
Well,
make you go,
anyways.
Hmm.
If things go according to plan, I plan to be at a racetrack for at least 5 straight nights. Could be a 6th if I decide to go to the kart club next Tuesday. We'll see.
With baby Riley, it's hard to go to the racetrack because I have to find daycare or someone to watch her. So, if Mandan races, I'll be at the track. If not, I'll be at home Friday and we'll be following the racing action from Jamestown through my race pass, and probably John and Jessup. I'm sure they'll be giving me all sorts of updates and fun facts and all the crazy shenanigans that'll be happening at the track. So
We will
That's my plan.
shenanigans so hard.
There's just never any shenanigans happening at the racetracks.
No, we are serious workers.
So Jessup, with Jamestown, are you going to be in the flag stand, or are you going to kind of be roaming wherever they put you?
Wherever, whenever.
You probably will be in the infield, I'm assuming.
I would say infield, probably up in the stand. And then, if not, I'll be up in the flag stand. Or I'll be up
charge
by
your
John.
best.
A given will be is he'll be trying to get his picks in.
You could be a co-announcer with John.
I could co-announce. Look
Jessup
at
actually
that,
does some
John, the
good-
son of a fun again.
We'd have Jessup on lots of mutes.
Well, wherever you are put, you do a great job. So be sure to enjoy yourself this weekend at the racetrack. Most importantly,
I will enjoy myself. I enjoy enjoying myself.
this is not wrong either. With that, that'll do it for episode 10 of season 4 for the Track Packers podcast. As always, be sure to like, share, and comment. Let us know if you'd like us to talk about anything, and let us know where you're watching or listening from. Thank you to our sponsors, Hitch Harness, The Real Deal with B1 Brody Carlsrud, and Isaac Hot Sauce Sondrol. Hopefully, Mother Nature allows us to get a lot of racing in this weekend, and if so, we will see you out there packing the track.